Hey everyone. So I'm off to a little bit of a late start this week because I was busy all at the end of last week doing workshops with you guys. So sorry about that. But today is all about analyzing visuals, and this should help you to understand the last three assignments. To be clear, what is due this weekend? Number one, a maps or modernization worksheet on your own infographic, the one you've constructed out of your proposal. You should use that as a evidence gathering mechanism or an analysis tool to then understand how you constructed your visual, keeping in mind that it was meant to fulfill some purpose to some audience. And then you're going to submit the visual itself. And then you're going to do what I'm about to do to these visuals to sort of help you out. I'll give you guys these files in the announcement where I post this video, but it's really important that you begin by understanding that that's what's due this weekend. You also have the discussion boards that are meant to help you get this work done. So that's the three things that are due this weekend. If you have questions, email me. We'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. So the idea here is very simple. You guys will have constructed a infographic or some visual, sort of like this one. As you can see, this is all about pet facts and stats in the US. You'll have this file. But the idea here is that we should be able to make an argument. For you guys, you're arguing that your communication is effective. That means it fulfills the rhetorical purpose to your rhetorical audience in conveying some message. And so here, we can talk about the use of color. I think it's kind of weird that they chose blue and orange for cats and dogs. I don't know why I feel that way, but I certainly do. I feel like they just kind of ran with a color scheme. But some things that are great about it. It's very clear at the top. I kind of wish the title was more geared towards what they were trying to accomplish, but there's justification to say something like, if we had been more specific in what we were trying to accomplish here, which we'll get to in a second, it might have been more off-putting to our audience. This is much more subversive, which fits with a rhetorical purpose of trying to get people to engage with these ideas. This is actually about being a good pet owner. It's about making sure that your pets are cared for and loved. It's showing you where the majority of poor pet households come into play. It's largely from poor choices. And so if you had put, at the top, something like how you affect, the issue of overpopulation of dogs and cats in America. Okay, well, people are going to be very off-put by that. So that's what this is doing. It's just like, hey, here's some stats about cats and dogs. Would you care to know? And so that's really great. That's what I really like about it. Sorry, it did it in the reverse order for some reason. So that's all it's doing here. Again, I don't understand why cats and dogs. Another thing that I'm really trying to get you guys to notice is how your visuals play into things. Notice that the dog number is larger or smaller than the cat number, but the cat is smaller than the dog. Like, why wouldn't you use the Chihuahua over here as this picture next to this cat? It would have made much more sense, seeing as how the dog is a smaller number. And so those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. Why did you make the choice to make this big sort of lab dog next to this, actually fairly large cat, when the cat's number is bigger? We could look at, 77.6 million pets. So these are just pets. But again, one of these implicit bias things, why is there only one cat and two dogs? That's strange, especially seeing as how the cat problem is significantly larger, and we'll see that here in a second. So here you can see, where do the pet owners get their cats from? Another interesting thing here about the color scheme, notice that this box about cats is blue. Now I get it, the middle is still orange, shades of orange like this one is, but that's still weird to me. This should be all shades of orange with different shades in the center. It should be all shades of blue since this is about dogs. So pay attention to your color, your use of color. Those are the things I'm going to be paying attention to. The last thing is this plays out a narrative. I don't know if you're noticing that, but as we move through here, you're seeing, oh, well, here's the number of pets, here's how many go into shelters, here's where they're coming from, here's, if we go up to pet overpopulation, it's like, oh, well, dogs can have 2 litters, which means one dog and her offspring in 6 years can produce 67,000 dogs. However, a cat can produce 430,000 cats, 420,000. Here's talking about this is like, here's how big the problem is, our background. Here's where the problem comes from, our sort of data. Lastly, what can we do? So this is the call to action. Yours may not necessarily have a call to action. The ones I'm going through today do, because they're social justice things. And so this just goes through what an audience can do in order to better provide for their animals. The next one is about sustainable fisheries. And again, one of the things I want you guys to play with or notice, ignore this blue circle, I did this very quickly. Notice that this is actually a narrative. What I mean by that is we have a title, we have some background, but look at how they use the color scheme as almost paragraphs. Okay, well, here, seafood, sustainable seafood. Seafood needs to be harvested in ways that sustain the population. Well, 31% are overfished. That's a claim. They're going to provide evidence. You guys should be providing your evidence in terms of a works cited either at the bottom or something like that if you really want to build that ethos, depending on your audience. But notice here, oh, well, 31% are overfished. Well, what happens next? Well, overfishing during spawning or during these times is actually worse. That's a new claim. As we move forward, it just continues with claims, and that's where the color scheme really plays out. You can see, oh, well, here's some more information about how that plays out. And lastly, what can you do? Again, a call to action. These are social justice things. Now, in terms of getting this work done, I'm using Prezi. The reason I like Prezi, I did these very quickly, but all I'm doing is I'm putting the image of my infographic onto the background, and then I'm creating brackets around each of the claims I want to make about these visuals. And so I'm like, here is, for example, we talked about the color scheme. Here's my color scheme, where I'm using the colors to break the information into manageable bits. That's really important to an audience. For this one, I would say this is a very large audience. It's meant to be perhaps put onto social media sites like Twitter. You're supposed to tweet this out, stuff like that. This using Prezi works great if you just have a static image. If you do not, if you incorporated interactive elements, you will not be able to use Prezi, because you have to actually go to the web page that the infographic you created is on and go ahead and analyze that. So just keep that in mind. Depending on the tool you're using, you might have to use a different technology. If you wanted to break this down even more, you could crop your image and put it onto PowerPoint slides and do this through PowerPoint as well. But all you really want to do is put this somewhere where you can break up your discussion, your analysis of your infographic into manageable bits and present it to me. You're going to use Loom, which is just a screen capturing software. It's very simple. You can put it into Chrome so that all you have to do is download Chrome to your computer, then attach the add-on of Loom to your Chrome. You don't even have to download Loom to your computer to do that. Once you've had Loom on, you click the button. It will start to capture the screen. It will also host the video. You don't have to add it to YouTube if you don't want to. When turning these in, the expectation is that first you have your worksheet turned in and it's filled out. Again, we want 250 words per section and analyzing your rhetorical situation. How did you meet the needs that were arising? If you're using maps, then the question is, how did you use visuals to achieve your purpose to your audience in the situation you've got? If you're using modernization, then the expectation is, how is your modality? How is the delivery vehicle for your infographic working. For example, these two were meant to be online. So we would want to talk about how do we create this to be online. This has cute fish. The other one had cute pets. The titles are this one's a little bit more hippie, I guess we'll say. The other one was much more subversive and just being like, hey, do you want to learn about cats and dogs today? Like, yes, especially given the internet's obsession with cats. That was a perfectly legitimate title. People would click in and they'd be like, oh my gosh, this is actually really sad. So just keep that in mind. That's what we're going for. When you analyze, you're going to do exactly what I'm doing. The difference is you should start with what is your rhetorical situation? What were you hoping to achieve to whom? And then make a claim about how you effectively did that. By utilizing an interactive infographic like this one, I'm leveraging the desire of people to participate in their visuals, something like that. And then you show me how it works. Show me how you chose the colors to make people engage. Show me how you use text, how you use titles. Here, hopefully you start to see some of the tools. Subversive titles, the use of color to break things up into manageable bits so your audience doesn't have to engage with the whole thing. Very, very little text. The use of images to convey information. In this one, we didn't really talk about it much because there's not as much. But you can see how under ocean currents is little waves. Right? Underwater currents is little things. Like this is meant to demonstrate that information. The cats and dogs one was far better, but it could have used size differentials to display information. In the video you're watching for this week, which we may have watched in class, they use little people. And it's really interesting to see how they use people to account for 10% of or 8% of the population, how they use stacks and wads of cash to actually make the money seem real because the line graph wasn't so real. So just keep that in mind as you guys move forward. If you have questions, go ahead and email me. As always, I'm here to help if I can. Otherwise, I hope this goes well, and this is the last major assignment for us. As a note, I am still accepting redraft of cause and effect. You just send them to me via individual forum. If you have questions about that, email me. Otherwise, hope you guys had a good Easter, and we'll see you later.